Hey guys, and welcome back to the Philco 48-1000 restoration project. In the previous installment, we pulled the chassis, took a preliminary look at it, and I talked about using some of the newly made twist lock caps from CE Manufacturing. I did pick up 3 of them. There are a couple other twist locks that are smaller diameter that they didn't make anything suitable for, so we'll use some of these, but it won't cover all of our electrolytic capacitor needs. The rest we'll deal with as best we can. Now, several other restorers are also currently working on this, which I admit gave me the bug to really want to dive into this even more. But one thing in particular I wanted to mention was this cap down here. I was wondering when I first saw that, was that some ugly old repair or what? That is a factory modification. So that is original to the set. In fact, I think everything is original, which makes me more encouraged to dive into working on it. Now, as other restorers have also mentioned, there are a lot of paper caps in this set, layer on layer of them. There are also a lot of chassis revisions. I do have a copy of the Sam's Photo Fact. I have the original factory service info from Philco. I actually have a hardcover copy or 2 of it, and it's been scanned and available online. Now, this particular revision or version is the code 125. There's also, I think, a code 121 or 123, but even within those codes there are production run changes, so we need to be careful of that. And that's why I was saying I was encouraged, because it appears to be all original, meaning when things don't quite match the service info, I can go with what I see. So what I'm mostly going to do is just carefully look at what value is in there and replace it with the same value. What I also find curious is I've seen versions of these, in fact a lot of early Philco TVs are loaded with bumblebee caps. This is not. And same with some other collectors, and similar deal where there are no bumblebees in this. It is all cardboard, wax dip type paper caps. That's curious. There's other sets they made from the same era, the same year, are loaded with them. Go figure. Alrighty, so honestly, I'm just going to dive into it. And I know the conventional wisdom is shotgunning capacitor replacements is a bad idea. You should do a slow power up, replace one part at a time and power it up in between. But there are so many friggin' caps in this set that I want to just get them out of there. Also, as I do that, the new caps will be smaller and it'll kind of open things up a bit, and I will examine circuitry as I go through this, look for any damaged parts, check resistors. So like if I'm working on a lug that has several resistors attached to it, while I'm replacing the cap, I'll also check those resistors. I've also done some visual examination. Nothing jumps out at me. There's nothing missing. Nothing's been torn out of it. No rodents have chewed on any wires or anything like that. It is an early set. Some of the components might be a little tricky to source, but we'll worry about that when and if we need to. There's also a big old candome resistor across the bottom here, which I'm hoping is still good. Otherwise, that could be kind of a pain. So it's got 1, 2, 3, 4 lugs on it. I don't know if it's 2 or 3 separate resistors that are isolated from each other, or just one long one with taps on it. If it had to be replaced, I would use some discrete chassis mount type aluminum housed power resistors. If it's still good though, I'm inclined to just leave it alone. So, without further ado, let's get to it. Now, of course, I do want to get these shiny new caps installed, but I think I'll start with some of the paper caps first, especially around where these caps get installed, because I want to free up. I guess I'm kind of let this set breathe a little bit. They will go down in this area here. So 2 of them, are twist locked right into the chassis. One of them is on an insulated phenolic wafer. Alrighty, let's get to it, shall we? Work has commenced. I'm getting a feel for the chassis. No surprises so far. And yes, there are a lot of caps. But one thing that's kind of nice is they're relatively easy to get out. They are wrapped around terminals, and I found that by clipping off one end and then heating up the terminal where the other end goes, you can unwrap it. I'll show you what I mean here. But I also need to be very careful because there are layers of caps. So I was going to replace this cap, but when I moved it, oh, there's another cap down below. So I want to replace that cap and then finish replacing this one. So what I've been doing is cutting this off and leaving a long length of the other of the component lead, so I have at least some guide that, oh yes, this is where that attached. I need to attach the new component there. Also, often is the case, there are multiple caps go into one lug. So on this lug we have 3 caps, both the one I was about to replace and then the one right below it is also going to that same lug, as is this big guy over here. And as you start working on replacing them, the new components being smaller, it opens things up. So let's see about this. So we're going to end up removing probably everything from that lug. I think the only thing going to the lug is all 3 of those capacitors. So I'm actually going to add some solder to it to aid in some heat conduction here. And then I should pretty easily be able to just unwrap this now. I don't know what order they put these in, but I figured since it was on top, it's probably the last one they put in, and that does seem to be the case. So it's sort of the outermost one. I was talking, it kind of cooled off, so I'm trying to heat it up again. That's why I added some solder to it. Make it a little easier to get the heat conducting down in there. Alright. And just a little more. And there we go. And I'll do the same with the other 2, which leaves me a nice clean lug, and I'm going to just wrap the new component leads around it. Easy peasy. I'm starting to poke around the electrolytic capacitors now, because I've been puzzled since the day I pulled this chassis about this capacitor. Because, as I mentioned earlier, there are only 2 values shown on the side. The half circle, 80 microfarad, 450 volts, and the triangle, 50 microfarad, 50 volts, and that's it. Which makes no sense because there are 4 lugs down below and all 4 are used. Now, I found the correct service info for this chassis revision in Writer's Volume 2, and it very clearly shows everything, including that extra cap that was clipped in up here, which is really simple. This is a 30 microfarad cap single section. That's a 30 microfarad cap single section. They're simply wired in parallel to make a 60 microfarad cap. That's it. So when I go to replace it, if I put a 60 in here, I don't need this cap at all. So I intend to just leave it out. And notice there are no markings on this either on the cardboard sleeve, but that came off very easily because there's no tar blob holding it in. And yeah, 30 microfarad, 400 volts. Alright, so the fact that that matched up the service info gave me confidence about how this cap was wired up. And the Philco service info is really nice in that they go through and they talk about the power supply section, and the video IF, and the sound, and the sweep circuits. And each section, they designate the parts for that section. So the first section is the power supply, and all the parts start with 1. So I think that's C103 or 102, something like that. And they only show 2 sections being hooked up. However, the other 2 sections are used in the sweep circuits. And they're simply both 10 microfarad caps. They're both used for cathode bypass. I think the horizontal output tube and oscillator tube, something like that. So most definitely all 4 sections of this are used. 2 sections for the power supply, 2 sections for the sweep circuit. And neither of these values is right. What it should be is a 40 microfarad, a 20 microfarad, and 2 10 microfarads. The 2 10 microfarads being the 2 bypass caps, which can be pretty low voltage, I think only 50 volts. So it seems to me that this can marking has no relationship to reality as to what's actually inside this. I will try testing it with my bridge, but I'm going off the service info. We're going to use this cap. Now, ideally, I would have gotten a 40, 20, 10, 10, but I got a 40, 20, 20, 10, because that's the closest CE manufacturing made. It should be fine. But if not, these 2 guys, as I say, the 10 microfarad, really 50 volts is sufficient. 475 is way overkill. In fact, the ESR on these is going to be kind of high. I may end up not using these 2 sections at all. The point of me wanting to use this cap is that I can put it back in here, twist the twist locks, and use it for tie points as the original was. The 2 little 10 microfarad bypass caps, I can tack directly to the tube socket base where they're used. They're going to be little itty bitty caps. So we'll see. We'll see. Even if I wired these up, I really don't think it'd be that much of a problem. The only potential issue really is that if you have a cap that's rated for upwards of 500 volts and you only put 1/10 of that voltage on it, the electrolytic oxide layer, the chemistry doesn't really form up fully. It'll have a higher ESR. But for the way this is used, I don't think it's not a critical part of the... Well, I mean, it's an important part of the set, of course, but I think it would work okay if I just wired this up directly. Regardless, this is a 4-section cap. Why they only label 2 sections, I don't know. But that's that mystery solved. This guy, very straightforward. It's just a single section cap paralleled up with that guy. And then this is just 4 sections, identical, all 10 microfarad at 475. So I don't think I'll have any trouble using these guys. And I mentioned earlier I was going to start replacing the paper caps before these to free up space. But this area is actually pretty opened up. So that's not really a concern. But what I do want to do after I take these old electrolytic cans out is clean up that area. This chassis has a nice layer of dust and dirt on it. Much easier to clean that out with those caps out of the way. Whew, I can finally see the label on this guy. 30 microfarad, 475. Okay, that makes sense. That matches the service info. Now, the one thought I had about this, notice how some of these have cardboard sleeves over them. I've heard it's not unheard of for a cardboard sleeve to have the correct markings on it, but the can inside to not have the correct markings. Like maybe they had a bunch of these left over. They knew they were going to put a cover over it with the white markings, so this was really not important. Maybe it was there and it disintegrated over time and fell away. There is some minor evidence of rodent activity starting on this set. That transformer got gnawed on a little bit. That's probably that corrosion there is from a little urine, and that cap just started to get nibbled on. But that appears to be the extent of it, so I don't think anything was damaged. But possibly there was a cardboard cover over that can and it got chewed away. I don't know. How weird is that? Alright, so let's try hooking it up. So the half round is supposed to be an 80. It should be that guy. Let's see what it measures. How does it measure? It measures crap. 14 nanofarads, 1 mega ohm of resistance. Methinks this cap is completely toast. I'll hook up another old cap. So this was a 30 microfarad. Actually, I already checked this one, and I know that this one actually measures fine in terms of the value. So 31 microfarads, ESR about 3 ohms. Not great, but that's in the realm of what it's supposed to be. So I don't know what's up with that. Let me check the new CE manufacturing cap. See what kind of reading we get with that. Here's the 20 microfarad section, and we got 20 microfarads. Try measuring another section on this. So the triangle is supposed to be 50. Let's see what we get. Well, at least that has readings in the microfarad range. It's not 50, it's 24 with a rather high ESR of 19 ohms, but it's not 1 mega ohm like that other section. Here's another section on it. About 90 picofarads, 1.7 mega ohms ESR. I suspect this cap has dried out and is no longer functioning as a capacitor anymore. All the more reason to replace it. Switch to working topside now. I just removed the 3 electrolytics and do a little bit of cleaning. I wanted to clean this area before I install the new caps. And I was a little bit surprised. I first reached for CLR. It's a mild acid cleaning, household cleaning product. It removes calcium, lime, and rust. And I found it works great on corroded metal, particularly the type of cadmium plated steel type of corrosion you get on this. But it didn't do anything. I then did a little test with a fingernail, and crud comes right off. It's like a waxy substance that's just covering this whole thing. Maybe it's nicotine glaze, maybe it was a heavy smoker. There's no odor or anything, so I don't know. But what I do know is it comes off easily. A little bit of abrasion and acetone helps speed along the process, and underneath it, it's gleaming metal. So it'll take a little bit of time to go over the whole chassis, but that's pretty cool. So check out the tubes. Most of them are Lochtols, and most of them are Philco branded. Here's one I just popped out, a 7B5 Philco Lochtol. I don't like the way they printed these. It's done with a yellow ink, and it comes off really, really easily. Just kind of doing this, it'll come off. Now the tube designator on top is done a little bit differently. That's a little more robust, but the Philco and the Lochtol made in the USA. If you clean the tubes like with Windex or something, it just all comes right off. And these tubes are about as filthy as the chassis is, so I kind of like to clean them. But yeah, I'll lose all that. Not only the Philco label, but when renewing and insist on genuine Philco too, that'll just all come off. Oh well. Now as far as the new caps go, we got my CE manufactured caps here. This guy will plop down right in there. Okay. And this guy will go in right there. Oh yeah, before I put this in, I want to show you how it compares to the original. So here's the original Philco, 4 sections, 10 microfarad, 475. And here's the replacement, 4 sections, 10 microfarad, 500 volts. Darn near identical dimensions. That's why I like using these when it makes sense. And there we go. Twist locks, hook the wires back up, and we are done. Now the one in the middle is a little different though. I thought I'd be using one of these. Originally it was a 10 microfarad, 400 volts, something like that. Or sorry, 30 microfarad, 475 volts. So I was going to take another one of these guys and just connect 3 of the sections in parallel, make a 30 microfarad, 500 volt cap, and plop it in there, except you can't, because it wasn't a twist lock. It was a cap mounted on an insulated phenolic wafer, because the can does not go to ground. It's also the smaller diameter as this guy over here. So what I'm going to do instead is use a little Adaptacap, which does line up with holes there. This is the smaller size, and it's just for a single cap. And this just twisted right off the original cap. I'll put a new cap in there and plop this down on top and use rivets or something to make that look real nice. And that will be that. So all in all, it will be a very nice looking job, I do think. Which says just leave this guy and one over here, which are skinny guys. So this guy especially loose. I don't know. I may very well just leave these in place and hide the new caps underneath and just leave it alone for cosmetic purposes. This will another nice star on top of the power transformer. It's a bit corroded and faded though. These sets are a bit rare. Definitely collectible. They're a very unique look, so I'm trying to put a little more effort into this and with preserving the original look to it. I've been making slow but steady progress with the acetone and scrubbing brushes and Q-tips, but to be honest, it's getting a little bit more tedious than I'd like, and not crazy about all the acetone fumes, so I've been experimenting, and I just gave this stuff a try. I picked it up for $1 a bottle at our local Habitat for Humanity shop. Don't know exactly what's in it, don't know if it's commercially available, but it works really well. It contains citrus oils and wetting agents, no water, no benzene, no chlorinated solvents, but it does have petroleum distillates. It's in a plastic bottle, so it doesn't have stuff like acetone, because I would just eat right through it. But it smells nice, spray it on, no strong solvent odor, and does a really nice quick job. I'm just using Q-tips here. If I use those scrubbing brushes, it works even better. So I think I will be able to get through the rest of this in short order. Now, I've also been doing these larger areas. As I get in here, it gets a little more cramped, so I have to get a little more creative in here for sure. That's one of the reasons I got these scrubbing pencils, is so I could get down in here, but even so, it doesn't quite fit through this can, so I'll be using these long Q-tips here that just fit down in there. So, that's good. On another front, I ordered up some more parts I needed, in particular some caps that were 0.004 microfarad, and those have all arrived, so I'm going to get back to recapping down below in short order. So that's what Q-tips. Here it is with the scrubbing bristle pencil tool thingy. Of course, totally unnecessary. It has nothing to do with how well the thing is going to perform, but I find it satisfying, so I do it. And there we go.